welcome to my lair.
Thank you.
Should have a nice conversation.
Yeah.
So I presume, is there anybody here who hasn't heard of TUI? Right? We all know this is one of the oldest, the most famous brands. Can you just, public company, of course. So there are certain constraints there, but can you just remind us, give us just a sense of the whole thing, the whole TUI, your reach, how many customers, just how far does this brand reach?
So TUI is one of the leading travel companies in the world. We operate in around about 30 source markets worldwide. We're particularly strong in Europe, but we do have also coverage in North America and other new markets. We sell package holidays and components to around about 21 million customers every year. And we have a so-called vertically integrated model. It's a very technical term, but what that basically means is we don't just package the holiday, but we actually also create the experience for our guests. So we actually bring them to the destinations. We have about 150 owned planes. And then we actually produce the destination experience or the holiday experience. Around about 380 owned hotels, 16 owned cruise ships, and last but certainly not least, TUI destination experiences.
So then let's explain to us exactly, so what is, can we say DX, TUI DX?
Yeah,
destination experiences?
We call it DX.
Okay.
Sounds modern.
Okay, all right, so is TUI DX a part, is it like a, so I've been kind of confused about it. Is this a part of, is this like a separate thing that you're selling ancillaries on the side and working with partners like a B2B thing? Or if I'm an operator and I work with TUI DX, suddenly is my stuff available in every plane, in every package, in every TUI agency and brand all over the world? What's going on there?
Well, the principal idea is to really make sure that the TUI guests, when they actually get into their holiday destination, that they have a great time. We have a purpose, and we say we create smiles. I think we heard that earlier today when somebody talked about creating happiness. So somebody who's on holiday, they want to essentially enjoy themselves, and we want to create a great destination experience. And that basically has a couple of components. That is the transfer to the actual hotel. It's the service in the destinations, but it's also then the tour or the activity that you can actually do whilst you're on holiday with us. And we have a bit of a different model probably than some of the other operators or some of the other OTAs here, because we have a bit of a mixed model, if you like. So we do create our own tours and operate our own tours, but we also sell other operators' tours. We work together closely with attraction providers, activity providers. So basically, we want to enable our guests to book a great destination experience, and sometimes we produce it ourselves. Other times we actually take somebody else's product.
So we had this interesting conversation with Tao from Get Your Guide yesterday. So they're, I guess, kind of coming maybe a little bit from the other direction. So they've started as an online marketplace, and they're dipping their toes into taking more kind of control of the supply. Tao said they're not becoming a tour operator, but seems like they're certainly, if they're not becoming one, they're going right up against what a tour operator is. But so you're coming in the other, I'd say, in the other direction. So are you looking to expand your supply of third-party partners?
Model-wise, you're absolutely right. We've been in the business of tours and activities for decades, really. So you introduced me with TUI's now actually coming into this market. I think I would actually say we've been in the business of operating and distributing tours and activities for decades. We've done it with a rather traditional model until now. So we basically sell our distribution model until now has been very much in the destination. So we wait until the actual guest comes into the destination, and then we sell the actual experience to them. What we're now trying to do is make sure that we also are able to sell the experiences pre-departure through different channels. So to a certain extent, you're right, we are an operator that's been strong in offline distribution, that's working together with lots of partners also sitting in this room, and we're now trying to also increase our distribution capabilities through using digital platforms.
Okay, so so if I'm an operator and I want to expand my distribution, and TUI has some distribution, you've got a lot of demand. So help me think about how do I engage with you?
It's not working.
Okay. How do I engage with you? So what are you looking for? But I also want you to answer, you've also got your own product, as you said, so you're vertically integrated. So, I mean, it's great for me to partner with you, but if it's the TUI owned stuff that's always going to come at the top of the list, what's really the opportunity for me?
Well, maybe we should take a look at our portfolio now that we've done the Musement acquisition, and I'm focusing now on the sun and beach destinations because we come traditionally from that particular segment. We're not that strong until now in the cities. So in sun and beach, the way it currently works is we have, let's say, 3 different types of products. We have our own products, and with own, we basically package our own tours. But when we do that, of course, we work with a lot of suppliers already because we don't control every single experience. We don't control every single guide. We don't control every single restaurant. So when we say we have our own tours, we work with a lot of local suppliers in the destinations to put together a TUI experience. But we also take pre-packaged tours from other operators because sometimes they have a product that we can't offer ourselves. They have something that is potentially quite niche, but a very good experience. Or sometimes the economic model works really well for us. So, for example, in Mexico, we don't have a single owned tours. We just sell third-party tours. So basically, there's 2 ways of working with us. Either you're a supplier, and we'll work together with you and make you part of our, an attraction supplier or an activity supplier. We'll then package you into one of our products. Or you're a third-party operator that has a very specific, special experience, and then we're very happy to work together with you.
I know you talked a little bit about you're looking for something kind of niche or something that you may not have in your portfolio. So, if I'm going in, kind of to pitch to your team or your destination, team, what advice would you give? What qualifies as like a TUI branded product, or is it you're open to anything?
Well, we're open to anything. I think first and foremost we're open to innovative ideas. We talked a bit about innovation before. Innovation for us is really important. We want to be innovative ourselves with our own products, but also we're very happy to work together with partners who are innovative. So
that could be an innovative product. It could be an innovative technology that, for example, is being used. So innovation for me is really important, but also a differentiation and elements that are exclusive and ultimately wow moments that we can then also share with our guests. So the more innovative you are, the more differentiated you are, the more exclusive you are, the better.
So the brand. So I could be an innovative, fantastic tour operator in Mexico, but I've been working really hard to protect my brand and to grow it. If I work with you, does the customer see my brand, or is this a TUI? Is this just become a TUI product?
At the moment, it's a TUI branded experience at that moment, but we are looking at different ways of potentially also
showcasing the partner's brand in the future.
Okay. So commissions and kind of terms and conditions, are you competitive with other online travel agencies? So we talked about like 20%, 30%. We heard 20% yesterday. Okay, I'm not really sure, but okay, if somewhere in that area, would you say you're with the TripAdvisors, the Get Your Guides, and so forth of the world?
Absolutely. I think we have to be competitive with the commissions, otherwise we won't be able to attract partners to work with us. But there's no such thing as a flat commission because obviously the type of customers we have is slightly different. We have a customer that is slightly older potentially than those that you would see coming through the traditional OTAs. We have a very loyal customer that's also a quality customer. They're also willing to pay a bit of a price premium. So
So we have to be competitive with our commissions, but it is obviously a case by case, a market by market, and a product by product conversation.
Okay. So now you made a relatively high-profile acquisition of Musement last year, but you also had acquired another company in this space. So can you walk us kind of through? So you have these two acquisitions, and then there's TUI DX, and then there's this larger organization. I guess I'm still kind of wondering. So again, if I'm signing up with Musement. So, and does that mean, again, like, does that mean I can get my product in front of, every high street location in the TUI network?
Yeah, I mean, the reason for doing the Musement acquisition was it gives us a scalable digital platform. So the idea in principle is that we have products, our own and our partner products, that until now we've been selling in the destination, basically once the TUI guest is on holiday, and we want to be able to sell these experiences pre-departure to the TUI guests first and foremost. So we have about 21 million guests, and we sell about 6 million tours and activities per year, which is good, but it also means that we're not selling to 15 million of our guests. So, and the reasons for that is, there's multiple reasons. One is they would like to book something pre-departure, and until now we couldn't offer that. They might want to have a different type of product experience in the destinations that we're already present in. Or the third reason is that they actually are on a city trip or on a flight-only product, and we don't have any kind of product here. So the reason for doing the Musement acquisition was twofold. We now have a platform that enables us to sell to these TUI guests through all the channels. So we now have all the products live in the TUI retail estate. So around about 3,000 own retail agents, but also another 9,000 third-party agents that we work with in our source markets. All the products are now also going to be available in the TUI digital B2C channels, the TUI app. So effectively putting all the product that we had, plus the Musement product, into the Musement platform, and then distributing through all the different TUI channels in order to sell not only to 6 million TUI guests, but hopefully more in the future.
So two other big players and big brands in the travel industry acquired reservation systems. You did not. Why didn't you acquire a reservation system?
We basically looked for the different capabilities that are required in order to be successful in the tours and activities space. And broadly speaking, from my point of view, there's 4 big capabilities that are necessary. 3 of which you can digitalize, and 1 of which you can't digitalize. So the 3 capabilities that, from my point of view, you can digitalize, and they are being digitalized, is the sourcing of the product, the actual production of the product, so packaging a guide with an entry ticket into something, and the actual distribution. So those 3 capabilities, I think you can actually digitalize. The 4th component is the component you can't digitalize, and that's the actual delivery. So making sure that basically the experience that the guests experience is the experience that you promise to them. And I think that 4th component is where we traditionally come from. So this delivery, the fulfillment side of things. What we didn't have was a good platform for those other 3 capabilities. So the sourcing, the production, and the distribution. So we said, rather than build that, it would take us too much time. Let's look for the right partner, the right company that gives us the skill sets that we don't have. And therefore, the selection was to acquire Musement. And Musement and the colleagues are here. I mean, we've been together now for 4 months. A big corporate and a very agile startup. And a lot of people predicted, it's not going to work. It's going to fail. Cultures won't be compatible in these things. But it's actually really good to see. We went out for dinner last night, and the teams are working well together. So it's actually coming together very nicely.
So it is working.
It is working. Yes.
Okay. When TripAdvisor and Booking made the acquisitions, what was did that adjust your thinking of the market? I mean, why did you think they made the acquisitions, and did it make you kind of rejig your calculations?
Well, again, they probably looked at the capabilities they had in-house and the capabilities that were missing for them. And I guess I can only speculate here, but obviously both TripAdvisor and Booking are extremely good on the distribution side. They also have customer bases that they can leverage. But I assume they said that we don't really have access to supply, and basically digitalizing the whole end-to-end process from supply to demand, the bit that's missing for them, I assume that they said it's the supply and digitalization. So for us, it wasn't a surprising development, because obviously we are looking at the market, we're looking at the different players. What was surprising was that we had 2 announcements within 24 hours, but it just shows again how dynamic and attractive this tours and activity segment is.
So a couple of things you said that I want to go back on. So one is you talked about kind of the challenge that you had kind of prior to these acquisitions, where your customers wanted to book pre-departure, but they couldn't. So which is interesting, because we see there's quite a bit of demand. A lot of the booking is actually happening in destination. Can you tell us a little bit about the TUI, so the TUI customer? Like, what distinguishes the TUI customer from the Booking.com customer or the TripAdvisor customer? Like, are there things that the operator community who might work with you should know about? More advanced purchase, different types of products?
Well, I mentioned at the beginning that TUI sells in 30 source markets, but in reality,
but they're all the same, right? They're all these
but our core source markets are the European, the traditional European source markets. And as you rightly say, not every market is, I mean, they're very different. If I take a look, for example, at Scandinavia, a very, very online-driven, mobile-first culture. Germany, for example, we still have very big retail distribution setup. So we have to really look at one market, well, every market, let's say, by itself. But I think what would probably be kind of a common denominator is that the TUI customers tends to be slightly older. We have a lot of families and couples in the 50s to 60s who actually are very loyal to the brand, very much driven by quality and very much driven by security and curation. So they're not just going to buy any experience, they're going to buy something that actually has to have a quality sign on it. So they actually trust us to provide them with that sign. So for me, it's a very loyal customer base. It's a very interesting customer base, because also there's a lot of, let's say, purchasing powers there as well there. So we're actually very happy with the customers we have, and we also think that a lot of our customers in the future will actually still book in the destination. But what we want to do is also enable them to buy pre-departure. So it's an additional channel. And selling through additional channels and additional products to basically bring up that 6 million number.
So you also had mentioned that there was a lot of doubters about the acquisition, and also just the challenges of integrating cultures, right? The startup versus, I mean, legacy, very traditional. A lot of kind of entrenched kind of cultural approaches, I guess, to things. So, there are a lot of, tour operating has been around for a while. There are many tour operators that have been operating for some time that are here, but are also seeing some of these changes in the market, need to make changes. What advice might you give? What have you learned? Like, how do you even begin to approach bringing in new ideas, especially when you've got, say, segments or parts of the organization that are very powerful, politically very powerful. They've got large revenue that they're responsible for, and they do things a certain way. How do you bring in new ideas and new teams and make it work? What advice would you give?
I think the most important thing is that you never take the success of yesterday for granted. I mean, you always have to reinvent yourself. I mean, this market is so dynamic and changes so quickly that in reality you have to reinvent yourself very, very often. And I've been in TUI since 2002, but I think I've had about 12 different jobs, and that's not because I don't like to stay in my job. It's simply because we're always reinventing ourselves.
So it's always looking at what's happening in the market, looking at what the customers want, and then really challenge yourselves and reinvent yourselves. I think that's something that TUI's been actually quite good at. And so we are quite an established organization with a lot of legacy structures and processes, but I would say mindset-wise, we're very agile, and that's also helping us with these new ventures that we're now in TUI Destination Experiences, because we just think that, for example, bringing the Musement colleagues in, we're going to just be quicker at achieving our ambition than we would be if we did it all ourselves.
We can also do questions from the audience if there's interest. We have a few minutes left. I just want to go back to the acquisitions of the res systems by the other OTAs. Do you work with some of the reservation systems that are out there? There's a lot of activity going on around connectivity. And does this change? Would you work with Fair Harbor? Would you work with Boken? How do you think about that competitively?
Yeah, I mean, we are working with I think all of the reservation systems. We have integrations in Musement with all of them, or at least all the big ones. And from my point of view, nothing needs to change if we can find, let's say, business formulas that work for both companies. So from my point of view, I think it's working well as it is at the moment. But of course, we also need to see how our strategy develops. We need to see how some of those competitors or partner strategies actually develop, and then we'll see how we go.
So I just want to clarify, are they competitors or are they partners?
We're in co-opetition. I think that's one of the words that I think is a buzzword in tourism. So I think we are in a market where traditional value chains and boundaries are mixing. So it's absolutely fine to work together on certain parts of the value chain or certain destinations, certain products, and to then compete in others. So for me, this is a normal trend. It's absolutely fine, and as long as it works for both, we're very happy to continue as we are.
Douglas, question from the audience here.
Hi, Yaron from Abraham Hostels and Tours in Israel and the Middle East. What is your take about Booking.com going into the tours and experiences niche? It's not a niche, it's an industry actually, because you owning hotels know how strong they are in the accommodation industry, not to say dominating the market, and with their money and marketing and technology, they might do easily the same to the tours.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Booking, and I think they've done a really good job in the accommodation space. And I'm also pretty sure that they'll do a very good job in the tours and activities space. Having said that, I think the market is so big that there's room for quite a few players. So I do expect some consolidation to happen. Actually, in fact, it's already started, but I expect that to actually continue for the next 2, maybe 3 years.
Will you be in? Can you share? Is that something that you continue to look at? Can you share anything about that? Will you continue to acquire companies?
Well, we've only just acquired 2 companies. I'm quite busy actually bringing all of this together. So that's our focus at the moment, bringing the companies together. But we have said that the tours and activities space is a strategic growth segment for TUI Group. So we want to play an active role in this business. We want to play an active role today in the here and now with what we have. But we also want to play an active role in the future as this market consolidates.
I think we have one more question from the floor.
Yeah, this is Eduardo Maldonado from TURBITS, Colombia. I wanted to ask you, you said like earlier that TUI's client is above 50 years old. So what are your strategies to capture the younger generation, and how does mobile play in that strategy?
It's a good question. It's one of the big questions, that we debate at a group level. So there's quite a few things that we're doing. On the one hand, the tour operators that we have, they are launching new types of products, very specifically catered towards the younger generations, with the idea of bringing more customers, younger customers, into the funnel. And of course, the way you have to approach these types of customers is very different in every single aspect. The product has to be different, distribution has to be different, the experience has to be different. but also we, I think, can play a very important role for TUI in this particular aspect, because as we saw from some of the research, especially the young people actually really want to experience something. So the experience is actually the main motive, more so than the destination or the hotel that you actually visit. So one part of our plan is to use this area also as a customer acquisition vehicle for TUI Group, and to actually help us get into younger target groups.
So there's a way that I sometimes like to end interviews, and since this is the last session of the first Arrival in Europe, I'd like to play a little game.
Okay.
If you're game. So it's the same game that we did with Tao yesterday. So either or. So again, if I say vanilla or chocolate, you would say
Vanilla.
vanilla. Okay. Okay. Great. German beer or English beer?
German beer.
German wine or French wine?
Beer.
Okay. That wasn't one of the options, but I'll let it go. City break or beach vacation?
Beach vacation.
Adventure?
I work for TUI.
Okay. Maybe city breaks in the future.
In the future,
Okay.
exactly.
Adventure or relaxation?
Relaxation.
Tours or activities?
Activities.
Events or attractions?
Attractions.
Concierge or Alexa?
Alexa.
Tour guide or a local?
Tour guide.
Uber or private transfer?
Uber.
Bus tour or walking tour?
Walking tour.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
PC or Mac?
PC.
Facebook or
Sorry.
Is that a TUI thing or?
Yeah.
Okay. Facebook or WeChat? Okay, sorry, I have to ask. Musement, PC or Mac?
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
get them.
you don't
We'll
have to
get them into PC.
Okay.
Into the PC.
You're not migrating them to PC, are you? Oh my God.
No.
Okay.
No.
We had a question about integration there earlier. I thought you said it was working. Okay.
It
okay.
is.
Facebook or WeChat?
WeChat.
Oh yeah, you just have a deal with C-Trip.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Instagram or Snapchat?
Snapchat.
Google or Amazon?
Google.
Airbnb or Booking?
Booking.
Klook or Get Your Guide?
Klook.
TripAdvisor or Thomas Cook?
TripAdvisor.
20% or 30%?
25.
Good answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, David Schelp.
Thank you.
Thank you.